Recording.
And here. You got the message. You got the message? Very good. Okay. Call the meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Hamden Board of Selectmen and the Board of Health being held at Townhouse Auditorium, October 4th, 2021. At 6 p.m. The meeting is being conducted in person and remotely using video conferencing technology as approved by the governor in his March 2020 emergency order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah, we can do that. I think we have a short meeting this evening. We have an advisory committee hearing at 7 p.m. And is anyone recording the meeting other than us? Any minutes?
I don't have any.
No minutes?
Right?
No.
Okay. First order of business is, I put this on the agenda, is the Hamden Wilmerham Regional School District Strategic Plan. As you know, the Hamden Wilmerham Regional School Committee has hired Mars to conduct a strategic plan, and they're looking for volunteers to sit on the board or sit on the strategic plan support team. I want to get it right. And their job is going to be to help gather the information, hold some forums in the towns, do a survey and that type of thing. So they're particularly interested in getting more individuals from Hamden. We have Greg, I think one selectman, they asked for one selectman, Greg couldn't do that, but they're looking for other people to involve. So if anyone is interested, parents of children in school or have been involved with the school somewhere or town government, please contact the Board of Selectmen or the superintendent of schools over in Norwich. Thomas Jefferson once said, Thomas,
To you personally?
to me personally, we're having a pint of ale, and Thomas Jefferson told me, he said, we have America, we don't have a democracy by majority, we have a democracy by a majority who participate. So I would suggest anyone who's interested to participate. That's the only report I have on that. And then October 20th is their first organization.
And they were looking for an advisory person, a partner also.
Someone else.
Those are their recommendations.
Right. But I met with the superintendent and Gina Khan last week, and Michelle Boudreau, and they're particularly interested in getting more people in Hamden involved in the process. So we've got some names or know someone, please let us know.
How many? How many?
We have an agreement that we will have an equal amount as best we can. So they're looking to have about, they originally said 20, but they realized that was a number was too large. So it'll be, 12 or 15 in that range. Anything else on the topic?
No.
You want to go over sign the motions for the town meeting?
Yeah.
All right.
You want to go over the motions? Okay.
Yeah.
This is just a draft. I'm sure we'll have some changes, but I plugged in numbers that I have. Police cruiser, $53,000. That's $39,000 for the car and $13,000 for the equipment, the lights and so forth. Municipal light plant, as you know.
Hang on.
Right.
I'll take that one.
What's that?
We're assigning motions.
Oh, okay. All right.
The way I give Craig the municipal light plan, he's the only one who understands what's going on. Unless you want that one done.
No, I was gonna, if I had to do that one, I was gonna make the motion, but Bob can answer the question.
It's awkward language. What it does, we're not creating a municipal light plant as that is traditionally known. But this is the language required by statute
Mhm.
If the town wants to move forward at some point with broadband, municipally owned broadband.
Mhm.
And so the rule is that it has to be adopted by a 2/3 vote at 2 separate town meetings in 2 separate years.
Mhm.
So no commitment is being made here at the special. Next May, if the town adopts it a second time, then that would commit the town, that would authorize the town to pursue municipal broadband if it thought it made sense or worthwhile.
I think it's definitely something that Craig and Rose can stand up and explain.
Right. And, you know, this is not unique to Hamden.
Mhm.
It was done in Beckett when I was there. It's been done in Westfield. It's now being done in West Springfield. It was done in Wilmerham about a year ago, I believe. They're a little ahead of us. And other communities are looking at it also, mainly because it would give communities and residents an alternative to cable if they wanted to have that alternative.
Article 3 is police budget adjustments. I'll take that one.
Police, okay.
That's gonna be- Do I have to read all the numbers?
Yep, probably.
No.
Maybe just a little.
Not
Actually, if you look at
just
the motion,
glasses that night.
Don, if you look at the motion, the numbers are greatly reduced. There's just 3 subtractions and 1 addition.
Mhm.
So the savings in the police budget of $216,000.
Well, we're gonna have the addition though of the,
I understand, the Quinn number changes in the, why isn't it in the motion?
we're gonna change the PIN number, right? And we're
It's
gonna-
there.
Okay.
See, it says, and further. In other
So
words,
there's 4 motions, so there's 4 numbers you change.
yes, 3 numbers here at the top
I see, okay.
are subtractions from the police budget,
Yeah.
mostly for the dispatch changes, and then the police career incentive goes up $5,000.
Mhm.
What are we gonna do if we settle the contract? We're gonna change these numbers?
Probably. When the financial people are in here tomorrow,
Trying to figure out.
we'll start working on those numbers. And so my guess is this will change again.
Well, this goes back to the other question I think we posed. Since we've talked about the other obligation for a health change, is there going to be a requirement for a motion here? Is there a need for a motion then to increase that budget? I know you're not going to have that till tomorrow, but the only other option to do it is, the reality is you're not going to increase by enough that it would be overspent by the time next town meeting comes up. And you could fund it then.
Right, it's paid centrally, so we don't have to add to the police budget.
No, I'm saying,
The other
because
town employee, if we go to the other town employee.
Yeah, we'd have to come up with a number for everybody.
Right.
And we don't have the opportunity for another article. We probably have to wait till the spring.
right, and at that point, because you're talking about in the current fiscal year, it's not something you can do in the budget. You can't do it in the motions for the next year thing. You'd have to have a special town meeting inside the town meeting to have an adjustment to a current budget, right?
Right.
You can't do it as an article in next year's,
It'd be a meeting
to
with
increase a budget in this year.
Yeah.
We've done that type of thing before where we recess, have a quick special town meeting to do something and then,
within the annual.
right.
But we need to do a lot of work on that because we have to make adjustments to the
We do.
employee handbook and we gotta.
We have to adjust the
There's
handbook.
also a
and
question about retirees. as well.
Retirees.
Now, I have to do a little research, and I'm not real an expert on that, but my understanding is I thought we obligated people to take Medicare. But if you're a municipal employee, you haven't paid into Medicare, so you're not eligible to take it when you retire without paying the entire thing.
Municipal employees pay Medicare.
There's a 2.85% payment for each employee from the town for Medicare.
Into the insurance, but I
Yes.
so like, was talking to a couple of employees today, and they said, no, municipal employees don't pay Medicare. They pay Social Security,
Right.
No, yeah.
What I can tell you
They
is
don't pay
the
Social
town-
Security, they pay Medicare.
No.
They pay Medicare.
So that's the thing, and again, I always thought we obligated retirees, and I'll ask Rita, that once you hit the age as a town employee, you took Medicare, and then you could take the supplemental town insurance after that if you wanted.
I retired before that, but I believe that occurred with Eva, but I'm
But that's
speaking for
it, the
Eva.
town insurance is supplemental to Medicare, right?
Right.
Your choice. If you want to pick it up.
When I retired from the state,
Mhm.
they required you to take Medicare. If you didn't take Medicare, you couldn't have the supplemental from the state.
Right. Okay. There's gonna be some amount, and I think you brought up a point, what about the retirees, so is it?
So we got some work to do on that.
Cliff and
I do know that a number of towns have a bylaw or a warrant article that mandates employees when they reach 65, mostly involving police officers who often retire at 55, and others, to go to Medicare. And it happens, presumably it happens even though the employee may have worked in municipal government their entire career and not paid in. So we have to explore this more, but I'm sure that the town will need to mandate that at some point. So we have a lot of adjusting to do with the health insurance. I reread the employee handbook today, and so there's a lot of language in there that we may want to adjust, including the language that says that retirees have the same premium split as current employees. There are a lot of communities that don't do that. They have different rates for retirees versus current employees.
But we would have to grandfather those people.
Well, you want to grandfather or give them the benefit of increased town participation?
No, they would do the increased time, but it was, you know, that.
Yeah.
Now, maybe-
And get the
Show me
money. But they, other people like say retiring after July 1st, 2022.
Instead of 10,
Would be at 50.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we could have an agenda item on this in the next.
Yeah, I'd like to see,
Meeting or
after you get some
meeting after
numbers from
that.
Dick and Cliff, I mean. we gotta
Just
see
go
what's out
through
there.
everything involving health insurance premiums.
Small bridge program, what's that?
The town received a grant from the state.
We know what it is. Who wants the motion?
I'll do
Oh, okay. Who's gonna do it,
it.
Don?
Yeah, conservation, this is your thing, conservation restriction for Ameresto project. This is-
Well, I would like to, I'll throw out the conservation first, if Ted wants to get up and do it. Ted, you want?
No, yeah, he is.
He's there.
Hey, Ted.
Are
can
you
guys
asking me?
Discuss this, the conservation restriction for the Ameresto project?
No, I will not. I'm against
Muted,
it.
Ted.
the volume down on that?
I don't see the light on it either.
Lights on there. The lights on in the owl,
Can you hear me?
Alan will provide. Try
One,
now.
two, 1, 2. 1, 2.
but go select.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, good. You hear us?
Edward, you have an argument?
So
I
Ted,
will not read this, John. I'm against it.
how does the board feel?
Well, we had a vote for it because it's correct by law, but in principle, I'm against it, so I won't read it.
Okay.
Okay, but your commission has voted for it.
Yes,
So to reach out. to you.
you'll have to get one of the others to read it. I won't read it.
We'll reach out to one of the other, if not, I'll read it.
So do we have to put 6 in front of 5?
I think we should.
Talk to the moderator about that.
Who's gonna do this?
If the Conservation Commission won't, I will. That's 6, I mean, on 5, that might be reaching out to Sherry. She would read it.
Can we talk about 5?
Go ahead.
How come it's going to the land trust and not to the conservation? So if it gets deeded to Conservation Commission in 6, why are they not the oversight on it?
Well, if 6 fails, we need something else. The state has required that we offer some mitigated parcel for the expansion of the landfill.
So if the town denies Article 6,
We need to do 5 or the whole project stops.
and then that's why the land trust would be associated with the oversight of
The other parcels,
restrictions.
one of which are the backland. None of these parcels are developable. So,
7 is assessors department classification change, I guess. Norm was doing that.
Who? Norm?
Norm,
I think he'll probably be here tonight. You can confirm that with him. It's not
He's downstairs.
Yeah.
building department classification change.
Yeah.
John,
Who's doing that?
John Wendell can't. Community Preservation Committee, that'll be Doug.
Doug
But
or.
I think
Doug
Doug
or,
historical is gonna read, I think.
well, Doug will read the initial one.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Earl will do
You can see there that in the motion, I think I need to have a little more clarity on where this proposed registered, or National Register District is going to be. We needed to define it somehow. I don't have anything from the committee on that.
What do you mean define it more for what?
Well, in other words, we have to state what part of town would be included in the register.
Well, isn't it per the map as
Yeah,
shown?
for that map
The
that's
attachment?
shown to be here.
Yeah.
Old Hamden Village, early Hamden Village is what they're calling it.
Okay, well, I haven't received anything on that from them, but I assume it's sort of downtown or the main part of the town, Main
You
Street.
probably just put it as shown in the map provided. You just provide the map.
Yeah, the next one I assume would be
Just refer to
Kathy, Beth, somebody like that.
Yeah, library, Ellen, she
So
is-
who's going to do that?
I think, which one?
Doug is going to do community preservation.
Doug slash Connie slash Christine, one of the.
Okay, library,
I would assume one of the trustees, they typically do it, Beth or Kathy or, you know.
highway department. Could do that one. You like trucks.
Yeah.
I'm going to the tractor parade in the Charlotte, Vermont on the 10th.
All the old farmhouse.
They take pictures for you. or something like that. Okay,
Season with it, we pretty happy.
reduction of the Hamden Wilmerham Regional School District assessment for fiscal 2022.
We should all do that together.
I'll need a number on that one too. I don't,
I assume we'll get a letter
How would
shortly.
we
Their
do that
meeting was
together?
tonight,
tonight.
the
Okay.
budget subcommittee, so I assume we'll get something on that.
Who's going to do this one?
I can do it, whatever.
We're gonna get, I'll do it because that's kind of my favorite topic. Okay. We're gonna get almost $100,000 back. 96,000.
It'll be over, I mean, 418, when we get 20 something percent.
Yeah, that's 80, we'll get 22%, I think, that's like 96,000.
Well, let's find out when they put that money in there. What was our percentage back then?
I put the short-term debt number that Dick was using.
Okay, so that's radios and truck
370.
payoff, that's good.
Is he gonna make that motion?
He can.
Dick? And then reducing the tax rate, that'll be sort of the advisory committee?
Yeah, I think we still need to have a little compound
Yeah.
with them,
You don't-
Hopefully
you
we're
don't
gonna
have a
have-
number for that yet.
because we don't have the real hard number.
That'll be in the advisory committee?
So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna switch 15 to 14, switch that around.
No, this is the right way.
That's right.
Okay, that's right.
He's got it
Yeah,
right.
tax rate.
I did switch them.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
And then general stabilization,
Yep.
advisory.
Advisory.
You took out the motion, increase the selectmen's salary.
Look at that. Slide that in.
It was in the spring.
Mr. Chairman, if I may have point of order.
Yeah.
There is a document up on the HWRSD website called Settlement Agreement and Mutual Release.
Yeah,
And there's multiple references to the strategic plan in there.
right.
There's also a posting for a joint meeting with the Wilmerham Board of Selectmen, Hamden Board of Selectmen, and HWRSD
Tomorrow night.
for discussions and then a vote on, I assume that this document is what's being voted on. The reference to tonight's agenda, the strategic plan, I think could be reasonably construed that this settlement was going to be part of the discussions tonight. And with your indulgence, I would like to have those discussions tonight.
Well, it wasn't going to be, we're just about to try to get people interested in the strategic plan, but we can give you a few minutes because we have to go in executive session then we have to go to the advisory committee. Go ahead.
Not sure I want to be the first one to speak, because some other people have prepared a few things, but I find a lot of inconsistencies and vagueness in here that I think is not beneficial to the town. And I think that it needs some sort of public discussions. There's references to the strategic plan, which I don't know how that comes into the settlement at all, really. When the strategic plan has been, but there's multiple references. There's multiple references to the strategic plan in the settlement. The strategic plan has been unfinished for 20 years. It's something they have to do regardless of the settlement. But one of the things that really is concerning to me is that it says in, for example, section 1B, in the case of committees having a focus, which has a more pronounced or demonstrably greater impact on one of the member towns, the composition shall be appropriately weighted in favor of the town upon which the impact is greater. What impact? You mean a positive impact or a negative impact? I mean, there's really vagueness in that
Could
language.
be either one. It's a strategic plan. That's right. They're doing the plan to find out what the negatives are, what the positives are, and how to move forward.
The other point here, upon approval of the settlement agreement, the school committee agrees to maintain educational configuration, which will include operating at least one school in the town of Hamden. Does that have to be in the agreement? Isn't that already something that we already have in our agreement? You know, our mutual agreement. And then on further, this agreement would not serve as an impediment to the exploration of any number of grade and school configurations across the district. So they could, in theory, just keep first grade in Green Meadows. I'm using an absurd example, but they could, in theory, do that under the settlement agreement.
Which they could do now.
Not without transferring a whole lot of students into Wilbraham.
Yeah, I know, but they could do it. I mean, right?
No,
Well,
they can't.
and I'll let some others speak because I think they have points that are, they've thought out as well.
I think they couldn't do it now according to the contract that we have in existence. So they couldn't transfer all those kids out. We can't transfer the kids that have already transferred out according to our contract. So this is just exacerbating that situation. And it really foretells the possibility that, I mean, why would you put that statement in if your intention was to keep one building and one school in town? Why would you put into the agreement that they have the right, nothing in this impediment it would serve as an impediment to exploration of any number of grading school configurations? Why would they need that?
Because it also allows them to talk about my plan from 6 years ago about changing the enrollment line for the middle schools, if you recall that. This statement allows that possibility to bring children from Wilbraham into Thornton Burgess and reopen that school. Yes?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Really?
I think that moving the first of all, the discussion has been changed that we want Thornton Burgess School open. That was not the issue. We want Hamden kids educated in Hamden. Okay, we don't care where they're educated in Hamden. You want to build an addition on Green Meadows, build an addition on Green Meadows, put all the kids in that building over there. That's perfectly okay with us. It's, the idea is that Hamden kids should be educated in our town. The idea of moving the town line, which is part of one of the things
No
that
one,
the
excuse me,
strategic
nobody
committee
said
will
the
do.
town line, that's your expression.
What did you?
We
what
said
did
the
you say?
enrollment line.
Oh,
We
okay,
treated it like if we were talking about if there were two middle schools, treated like neighborhood schools in the district, you would have basically South Middle School, North Middle School. Like they do in Springfield, other towns with multiple schools
so we would have two middle schools
in the
and,
district.
and the line of enrollment would change.
Right, based on
It wouldn't, it
population.
wouldn't be the, what did I call it? Did you say?
You said town line, nobody's
Oh,
talking
not
about
the
changing
town,
the town
but
line.
the line by which the kids would be enrolled in school would change.
Neighborhood
That
school.
idea has been brought before the town and has been defeated in both towns.
The
Both towns did
town,
know.
the town line borders is in this, is in this language right here, John, at the bottom of page 5.
That it's a consideration in the future that if we need to do that type of thing. Again, there is conversation in the settlement agreement for areas of discussion. You could discuss these and say, no, we're not going to do any of them. There is no change to any regional agreement statement in any of this settlement. The settlement serves the purpose, and correct me if I'm wrong, Don, to pretty much end the litigation and allow the towns to move forward on improving the educational experience for every child in both towns.
I have 2 questions. Is this settlement going to be signed tomorrow night?
If the two committees vote on it,
Positive votes, yeah.
And you're one of the votes,
yeah,
your board?
our board, yeah,
Do you vote separate from the school committee?
yes.
The second question I have is, what does Hamden get from this settlement?
Well, what do we get for the settlement? We get a larger seat at the table for the strategic plan. We get assurances that there'll be issues that you're concerned about, the transfer issue, those things to be discussed with the board, right? We end the litigation, which a major part of it we lost. And we get to move forward and focusing on educating, getting the best education we can for all the kids in the district.
And that lack of focus comes from the superintendent and school committee. It does not come from this lawsuit. The lack of focus has been in existence for a number of years.
Okay, it may come from the superintendent and the school committee, right? But that's a whole different issue.
Well, you're
You
saying
know
this
I'm
is
a great,
gone.
you know I'm a great believer and they spend too much time on social stuff and not enough time on reading, writing, and arithmetic. So, but we are at a point now where we've talked about this a long time. We've thought about it a lot, that the town needs to move forward with this process so that we can, I mean, look at this. We gotta do this executive session with the police, but I was chairman of the school committee for 10 years. All my kids went to Thornton Bergen. It was wonderful. It was a wonderful experience. And we love it. And I love the school. And I still do it to this day. But the fact of the matter is we're in a different place at a different time now. Education has changed. The pandemic has changed everything. Declining enrollment has changed everything. We've got to get back to focusing on the education of the kids. And we spend way too much time on these peripheral issues and not enough time, and if we have to, beating up the school committee on educating the kids.
Well, I think that, I think
I would encourage any one of you or all of you to get on the strategic planning committee.
I'm putting my name in. I just wrote a letter, put my name in on the strategic planning committee.
Good.
But I think that it is a shame when you sign a contract with someone and they don't morally keep their position. And when we take a stand and then we back down because we don't have the courage to go forward, I think it's an embarrassment and it's not appropriate and it's going on everywhere in the whole country, but I don't know why it has to go on in Hamden. I think these are moral issues. They said they would keep 2 schools open. Now they say they would keep 1 school open. They didn't keep the 2, but we'll say, okay, but we're sure you're going to keep the 1. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense, Don. It just doesn't. So, but, and And also that you don't reflect the will of the people. If the people had not, how often have the people voted $100,000 to support a cause raised by the community? Never, to my knowledge, never. And if we went there tomorrow and said we want $50,000 more, they'd give us $50,000 more, I'm sure. But whether you agree with that or not, or whether they wouldn't, whether they've changed their position, they may have changed their position. And I can live with them changing their position, as long as it's their position, not the position of 3 people. I think the town has a right to hear the issues and to take a vote on the issues and to say, yes, we agree with you, or no, we don't agree with you. And if they don't agree with me or the rest of these people, I would say, fine, you don't agree, that's okay. We'll go with what you want to do. But I don't think your voices should be any stronger than ours, and the number of ours that are there. And to make a case that it has been so expensive, I went through the thing, it's cost $47 per household to take a stand. That is not a lot of money. We did not take a lot of money for this lawsuit. Not when you can go out and buy a truck or whatever else you're gonna buy. It's not right. It really just is not right. It's not morally correct.
Just to
That's enough.
piggyback on what you said there, a few minutes ago, you said you didn't care if there was only one school in Hamden as long as that they were educated here. All you said earlier, your statement was that you don't care
Oh, I don't care
if
where they
there's
put
one school
them.
or two,
Yes,
you don't care where they're educated.
Right.
But then in your last just statement there, you said you were upset because they closed the school. So that was just conflicting what you just said there a second.
I wasn't particularly upset that they closed the school. I was upset that they took the kids out of our schools.
And then you insulted me by telling me that I don't have a voice because I have kids in the school system as
I didn't
opposed
say
to
that.
you who doesn't.
I said, you do have a voice.
You said there were 3 people here who shouldn't have a voice based on the people at the meeting.
So
that
you should have
referred
one voice, but you shouldn't have the primary voice. You should have one voice. Just like I should have one voice. I should have the primary voice. But I think the town meeting should have the voice. It's the town meeting that should say what we do. This is supposed to be a democracy
to. A
or
democracy.
democratic republic.
So
And,
the-
and it's
So
supposed to have
the
people.
parents don't have a voice, that are the ones that speak to us, that tell us
The
that
pa-
they don't even know there's a lawsuit going on still.
So the town meeting that also voted not to move dispatch out of town, but all 3 members of the board, which you were one, voted to move dispatch out of town. But town meeting
They
voted,
didn't vote on that, not to, they voted dispatch when the chief brought the dispatch, didn't they?
no, they put a citizen's petition not to, that anything would have to go back to a town meeting. Now I'll go back to Jim. Jim, we served on the select board for
We had a
18 years.
petition, we had a petition to require that the decision be subject to town meeting approval.
So-
Which I wouldn't have had a problem
Which
with
was a
that.
non-binding.
So was the one you're referencing is also non-binding. So,
Well,
either way,
I-
Jim, you sat on the board for 18 years. Did you want every decision you had on the board to be vetted by the town? Or was your job as elected selectman to sit here and make those choices?
I think and when I was there, it was to listen to the townspeople and make a decision based on the best of my knowledge and what I've heard from the town. What concerns me about this particular settlement is it introduces elements that weren't even part of the lawsuit. It starts talking about strategic plan. It talks about item number 7. If you look at it, it's like totally out of context. It just is a sentence that says the strategic plan could help to inform potential amendments to the regional agreement. It doesn't even flow with the writing. It's like somebody copied and pasted something in the middle of this. I don't think anybody's read over this after it was passed around. I don't know what the what transpired, who had it first, who drafted it, who redrafted it, et cetera. But I think it does need review. Item 6, further, the parties agreed to cooperate in the process of educating the district's shareholders about the many positive aspects associated with resolving this litigation. Resolving mean, are you supposed to be educating us before you resolve it? Or should it say the many positive aspects of having resolved this? Because the way it reads right now, you're to educate the townspeople on the positives of resolving it. And that hasn't happened.
A little history of the litigation, as you know. When this initially started, the town went to the firm of lawyers and got an opinion, can we sue on a violation of the regional agreement? That firm said no. A citizens committee said, hey, can we go out and pick another attorney to give us a second opinion? Some of the people sitting in this room. went and picked the city solicitor of the city of Springfield, Ed Pacula. Well respected, good background. That attorney worked on this case for 4 years now, 3 years, 4 years.
18, 3 years, 3 years.
3 years, 4 years. Came back to this board after a partial judgment. Is that correct?
Summary.
Where summary judgment, where the case was, as he said, weakened, and I think he used word considerably. And recommended to this board, not on us going to speak to him. The attorney that was recommended by the private committee said to this board, you should settle.
It was not recommended by the private attorney. It was recommended by Norm Charest.
No,
And
it was
we
not.
had- it
No,
was, and we
not.
had nothing to do with
We had
it.
a firm, we
We
had
had-
Doherty Wallace, their
We had
firm
nothing
for
to do with the picking of
$300
the
told us
attorney.
we could not win a suit on a violation of the
We
regional
had
agreement.
nothing to do with the, here, we are people who sat at the meeting. We had nothing to do with the picking of the attorney. We didn't even know who the attorney was. We had nothing to do with it. Okay, and I have legal counsel that has told me that we have a case. So you can find a lawyer to tell you whatever you want to hear.
Well, I've often heard that you can get somebody to indict that you can say what that was.
I'm not opposed to compromise and settlement. Okay, I understand. We've been at this for a long time. We're never gonna please everybody in the settlement. I understand that. I think there's language in here that's detrimental to the town. There's language in here that takes it well beyond. It's discussing COVID, it's discussing the strategic plan. It has absolutely nothing to do with the lawsuit. I think you just dismiss the lawsuit. You agree to work cooperatively together to solve these problems. And that's it. I'm just troubled by all this superfluous language here that seems to tie us into some sort of, okay, we have a strategic plan and those that are more affected than others have more representation, but there's no definition of who's more affected. I mean, this is nebulous. I really find this troublesome, and not because it's a compromise and a settlement. I find it troublesome because the language is so open and so vague, and it's almost reminiscent of the original settlement we had.
And the
Several
original
years ago.
agreement,
But there is one concern, and Mrs. Glover has been 100% correct in this, that we cannot change the regional agreement without a vote of the town. And nothing in this settlement does anything to the regional agreement. As you're concerned, I'm worried about some of the, not ambiguity, or maybe that's a different word, some of the points in the settlement agreement. They need to be fleshed out, expressed better, but there is no gun to our head to implement any of them. These are suggestions for a bilateral, bipartisan committee to bring back to the towns.
But why
Our
would
goal
this,
is to raise the educational level, opportunities for every child in both towns. Put the focus back on education. And I echo Don, back on, to me, the math, the sciences, English.
but
and
why
less
would,
of the-
why would a settlement of the law agreement have in it that they can discuss the topic of line borders, or that they can discuss language about transfer students, or that they can discuss calculating the assessment of the region? I mean, why is that anything to do with our lawsuit?
That's what your lawsuit's about.
No, it isn't.
Transferring kids isn't what your lawsuit's about.
Transferring assessment, is it about assessment? Is it about line borders? It isn't about line borders. Is it about a review of the regional agreement on a periodic basis? No, it isn't about that. Those are things that are in our
The
lawsuit.
assessment thing, if I recall correctly, was to allow them to, was it average it down so that they could do better planning on the budget?
Well, we have made our, you know our position,
Yeah.
and we know your
Come tomorrow
position.
night.
And is it gonna be what's the format gonna be at that?
It's
at that?
Zoom meeting at the library.
library,
I rock.
we all open up our meeting and then discussion.
And then will be public discussion or
Yeah.
just
Public.
board discussion,
Public.
public discussion? Okay.
Public.
Who will be in charge of that meeting?
The chairman of the school committee.
The chairman of the school committee. So will they treat it as a school committee meeting where there's public comment and then no dialogue?
I believe so, yeah. The book comment is going, that's right.
Where there's public comment up front and then no dialogue, no,
Oh, I
no
don't
back
know.
and forth.
I don't know.
I think when I saw the agenda, it had discussion before the vote.
But it appeared from the agenda, and I don't have it in front of me, but it appeared like the discussion was between the officials and not
I
with the
agree.
public.
Yeah, it doesn't reference that the
public.
public's gonna have the opportunity to speak tomorrow night,
Is,
if at all.
is there a reason that the whole court case can't be just say to the judge, make the decision. Everybody would go along with the judge's ruling.
I don't know, I mean, but I think the judge would probably say, I'll make, I have to hear, the facts again, and, you know, and that's the problem. One of the things that's going on is, it's always, there's no
Continue.
date set for a court hearing.
And I think our attorney also said, they're not gonna make a decision. They're gonna say, can you guys work this out?
So,
That's- So there's not gonna be a definitive answer to it. That's just not what they do.
I hate the terminate, guys, we gotta do
You got
this, okay? So,
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
and
Thank you
for allowing us to
We'll see you
vent.
tomorrow night.
And we'll see you
What's your
tomorrow.
name, please? Motion to adjourn to executive session for the purposes of discussing the police contract.
What are we going to leave?
We're gonna shut this off, they don't want us to.
Okay, fair enough.
Kick us out.
And you return to open session just to close. the meeting.
Done.
That's
Done.
good. We're gonna-
To go to the advisory.
Advisory's gonna come up in a little while, we're gonna hang around downstairs.
Well, they're not
Mr.
gonna make
Chair,
a
I'd like to make a
decision
motion
tonight. They're
to
just gonna go over the same
leave
thing.
open
that
session
we
on
said
the
just went over. They
executive
don't-
session for
they
the
don't
purpose
make
of
the-
discussing ongoing contract negotiations with the police union, where open discussion with it.
Do I do a letter to,
Second.
to be on the committee to you
Without
or
return
to
to
the
open
school?
Do it to me also. Second. All in favor? Okay.
I'm shutting the meeting down.
Okay. Another meeting.